like we're at Wimbledon. I just watched Shia LaBeouf's new movie.
Did you?
Yeah, and he's like, I can't remember the name. He's playing. It's like an '80s tennis star, and he's like, I feel like I should say really bitchy things, and you can be the nice one.
Totally. I'll be Bjorn.
Yeah, be Bjorn. Yeah, and don't ask me anything about my acting work. I'm not here to talk about my acting work.
We would only like to discuss tennis today.
Yeah.
FYI, I'm totally that person who pretends like they suck, and then you get me on the court, and I'm like straight in your face.
Guys, kicking off with an easy one. Are you enjoying Comic Con? How's the experience for you guys?
Yeah. Well, this is your first Comic Con, right?
This is my first Comic Con. Yeah. Period. So
it's overwhelming when
completely.
it's your first one. I feel like, and still, like, I find it overwhelming.
Yeah, it's overwhelming and exciting and interesting. It's my first time in London as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
So
that.
yeah, I'm trying to soak in all of the sights and accents and references to all of the historical material that I read so much about, and on top of it, be at Comic Con, so it's super fun for me.
Yeah, I love them. We all have our shows that when we watch, we freak out, and I think it's excuse me, easy to forget that, like, oh, I'm a part of a couple shows that people feel that way about, and it's very surreal when people get so excited. I'm like, oh yeah, right, yeah, that's a thing I do.
It's true.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I finished watching season 2 of The Crown on the flight over, so if anybody knows anyone from The Crown, please bring them over to my table.
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction to finding out that you were actually Laura as a kid?
So I knew from the get-go, so they brought me in early and were like, we have this great concept for a new character on the show. It's a big secret. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll keep a secret, no problem. Sign the NDA. And then it was like I got to set and no one on set knew who I was either. So it was awful because I'm a horrible liar and everyone was like, come on, you can tell me, who are you? And it was, I just wanted to wear sunglasses all the time and like eye contact with anyone. So I'm just extremely relieved.
Danielle and I knew.
Yeah, you guys knew. Yeah.
We're like the Council of Danielle.
There was a lot of people in the Council of Danielles who were like, we must know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just really relieved it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
What's the chemistry like on set with the other cast members?
Hey, everyone. Everyone's really, it's hard.
I mean,
hard.
we get
It's a lot
along,
of
but
divas.
everyone
Yeah,
else we just
worst.
despise. It's fantastic, truly, and I mean, obviously, I spend the vast majority of my time with Jessie L. Martin, which any woman could be assigned a much worse fate. But generally, I think because everyone outside of us, I came in at the very tail end of season 1 for a hot second, but everyone else started at the same time, and it's really rare that the core cast of a show all starts on the pilot together and stays on together. So it's very much like a family. And I know I felt that, you probably felt this way this season, that when you start on the show as an addition, you sort of have to get kind of like integrated. It's like dating somebody, and you're like, oh God, I hope your mom likes me.
Yeah, it's always scary when you come in. Like, I obviously didn't come in until 4th season, and I was like, ooh, everyone has their dynamic. Like, will they be cliquey? Will they be fake nice? Like, what will happen? And the Los Angeles fake nice.
That's
that
just
we're very familiar with. No. And everyone was extremely welcoming and delightful and really cool.
I remember when you were coming, we were all very excited.
Awesome.
Jessica and Danielle Panabaker knew each other prior to. So Danielle gave us all the heads up that Jessica was lovely and super fun to be around and totally amazing. So we were all really looking forward to her arrival.
That's nice. I didn't know she said those things.
She did.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Congratulations on, first of all, the birth of your child in the series.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be out of the pregnancy mode. In case you were wondering, it was super heavy.
2 questions. Going into the next season, firstly, how would you transition from now being a mother, and secondly, you now being a speedster, especially a speedster of colour, how will you bring that sort of representation, to your viewers and everything?
Please go first.
Well, to the extent that I'm allowed to talk about anything, I think it's going to be interesting for my character to figure out, what if anything is going to be happening with her powers. Will they remain? Will they show up in her baby? How will that work out for Joe and Cecile in general? And how will, whether the baby has the powers or I have the powers or some version thereof, how will that incorporate itself into the family? And also, how does a baby factor into Team Flash? I mean, everybody's saving the world every week, and now we have an infant and an entirely grown adult child who are part of the team that we all have to figure out what we're doing and get you home.
I've coined my own, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I like to call myself Baby Flash. I really hope it catches on.
I like it. You know what? I'm going to use it until it does.
Please do. Baby Flash. Baby Flash. I'm like, I really want to put it on Instagram, but I'm like, no, it's not cool if I write it first.
If I do it
Please say Baby Flash.
Yeah, and then you
can
just
that happen today?
and you just
I'll be
repost it.
Yeah, Baby Flash.
You guys, you're all on
On the Baby Flash, please, thank you.
Yeah, you're on the hook. We're coming after every one of you if you don't repost.
Exactly. That's a really scary and important question. This is a very long-winded answer that I will try to say quickly. So I grew up in Canada in an incredibly white family. The fact that I was part black was never brought up, which I ignorantly thought when I became an adult that was great because it was never even acknowledged. We never talked about it, and because color doesn't matter. And then I moved to America where I realized, like, no, color matters and culture matters, and it's important to be like, yeah, I'm part black, and that's amazing. It's not like I was hiding from it or something. It just, no one ever talked about it. It was just never brought up. And so it's funny, when I moved to the States, there became that sense of like, oh, I represent to a degree women of color on screen because of the color of my skin, but it's been intimidating because I didn't grow up in the culture at all. So it's new for me, and I love being asked those questions because I'm like, whew, okay. I don't know what I'm gonna do to bring that, other than the fact that I'm just gonna be there, and little girls who are of color can watch, and like, you too, it's like, can watch and go, wow, superhero that looks like me, like the same as when Black Panther came out. I mean, it exploded, and so I feel incredibly honored to be a part of that community.
They do bring a lot of people, women of color, which is very important.
Yeah, very, very, very.
I mean, I think our show collectively, this is not the case anymore, but there was a period of time where we had more people of color on Flash than were on entire networks. Like you take all of the cast members, and it's extremely unusual for a network show to have the majority of the series regulars, which is the case now, be people of color.
Which is such a bummer.
Yeah.
Like, why?
And on top of it, we get to be superheroes, which is like
freaking awesome.
incredible.
Yeah.
Who do you think's faster, Nora or Barry?
I'm going with Nora hands down, mostly because she's sitting next to me. Also,
I would fight you.
Also, second generation, she's Barry with all of Iris's smarts. Like, she's got Irish genes in there.
Yeah,
obviously,
it's a powerful combo, guys.
Yeah.
We all know I'm the most powerful, fast, all of it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the Wally connection.
That's true. That's right. We should have considered Wally in that connection as well.
Okay, fine.
It's the whole, but she's full West Allen. Like, this is what happens when West Allen becomes one. Yeah.
Have you shot any speedster, kind of, like, in terms of shooting as a speedster? Have you kind of
Just
that on the treadmill or anything like that?
Just the one, no, nothing like that. I had like we did all I don't remember what it's called when they scan your body. Mm-hmm. You do the whole, it's that whole thing, and it took hours, and you make like all these faces, and you do the whole thing. So that's all I've done. And then the one little moment when I had that speedster moment in the episode, but literally all I had to do was this.
Grant told me that he showed you how to do your hands without looking stupid.
I weirdly don't remember that. Obviously, it wasn't very helpful because I have no recollection of Grant helping me. Yeah, you do this, you do this.
Try not to.
It's weird. When I was in LA, they take pictures. It's super weird. They take photos of like the bottom of your feet. I was gonna say I shouldn't say that because there's probably like cult foot people now that are trying to put pictures of the bottom of my feet online. Yeah, it's like it's weirdly invasive.
Really?
It's just, yes.
They took bottom of your feet.
Yes, please tell me that happened to you too, and then I'm not.
It absolutely did not happen in any way, shape, or form.
It's very. I don't know.
No,
what to
it's
say
just
now.
you.
I gotta call my agent.
With your powers over the last season,
either how difficult was it or how much fun did you have doing parodies of other characters?
Both. Both. It was difficult because as an actor, you learn lines. You know, the very first thing you learn as an actor is it's all about listening and responding and what's happening in front of you. And then when you play somebody who reads people's minds, you're responding to yourself all the time. So that part was really hard. And I hope I was successful at it. I worked really hard at making sure that when I was sort of doing an impression, if you will, of the other actors on the show, that it was certainly an homage and not, you know, in any way, you know, caricaturizing them. But that part was really, really fun. And I have a pretty strong background in terms of scripted comedy, so like anytime Flash lets me be funny, I'm always really happy about that.
My favourite was the pizza dude, hands down.
Thank you. It was my favorite as well. I had far too much fun that day.
Since being on The Flash, have any of you had an opportunity to sit down and read the comics or like the source material behind what makes the show what it is?
Oh my God! Don't look at me.
Yes, I have some.
Okay.
And what I've found, and my best advice to Jessica coming onto the show a little after me, is that the source material is really helpful for a framework, but in terms of detail, it's best not to do like deep dives into the muck, because I know the fans get very attached to what happens in the comics, but what happens in a comic book, it does not always translate to television.
Sure.
And it doesn't also always translate into the evolution of a story.
Yeah.
And if we stayed stuck with it, like I wouldn't get to be Cecile, because Cecile would be a redheaded Irish woman who wore a big hat and who was only ever in court.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, I tend to, when new characters come on the show especially, do a little sort of like just background to see how in the big picture it relates, and then you try to just sort of throw it away and let the writers do their thing.
I was thinking I actually can't really answer that question because I realized that there's like another level to like who I am that's like a part of something else that I can't talk about. So that's kind of awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So so next question, please.
Anyone?
Hi. Would you like to do crossovers? Because I know there's a lot of crossovers with the whole Arrowverse, and I don't know if it's part of it, but I think Black Lightning is connected. Would you like to be like, because like Black Lightning is I'm only halfway through. It's really really good.
Yeah.
So especially when you're talking about diversity and stuff like that, and the whole CW universe, even from Smallville to now, has always been quite diverse with the characters.
Yeah.
Blending. And whereas traditionally white characters, they're just, it's like, let's just have different diversity and make the same essence of the characters. So would you like to do crossovers with other shows?
Yeah,
I think crossovers are the coolest. The very first episode I did was a crossover, and I just...
Oh, that's right. You did Supergirl. We were on it. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone was there, and everyone was in a good mood, and it was total and utter and complete chaos and hair and makeup.
It was total chaos.
I literally remember, because I was intimidated to be there in the first place, and then it was the most chaotic episode. I think there were like 50 cast shares that day or something absurd. It wasn't quite that many, but it was absurd
It
like that.
was like 49.
Yeah, it was nuts. And hair and makeup was so overwhelming. There were just pages of names and things highlighted in every different color to get them to try to stay organized. And I remember just getting as small as I possibly could. I was just like, stay out of the way, say your lines properly, and get out, you know. But I feel like it's so fun to do that. It's like, it makes it, you know.
It's fun. I was really excited to pop over to Supergirl for 5 seconds last season, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything to say that there are going to be more crossovers this next season. And yes, there is a very strong likelihood that there one or two people at this table will be crossing over, probably both. In terms of Black Lightning, just to say I love it, and I have a very public and undeniable crush on Jill Scott. So if any of the writers are listening right now, guys, I'm just saying it would be fun. But for me, it's a real it's challenging when we're shooting, and it's challenging for crossovers to happen because not all the shows even shoot in the same city. But the idea that different shows on the same network pop over to one another you know, the sort of traditional TV lame word of synergy. I feel like the only time synergy has legit worked is on the CW in the DC universe. And I think it's cool for fans, and I think it's cool for us to do it. And I love that the network makes it happen, because it's no small feat.
Well,
Thanks a lot.
We need to wrap.
Yeah, no.
Thank you very
Think
much.
we're late, Joe.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
and a little ball and answer all questions like this. It's normal, right?
You had a rough night.
I had a rough night.
You had a really rough night.
Oh, not like I was drinking.
No,
Not that
there was
kind of
no
rough
fun
night.
being had
No.
whatsoever. It was the
Makes
opposite
it
of
sound like I'm really hungover or
Just
something.
say that bit closer to the
Yeah, exactly. I'm terribly hungover. I actually don't even drink, so it's a secret why I had a rough night.
It's okay. This is a safe space.
No, it's not. It's media.
entirely safe space. Camera just happens to be rolling in this perfectly safe space to say whatever's on your mind.
Let's talk about politics.
No judgment.
So, welcome to MCM London.
Thank you.
First of all, let's start off with the very generic media question of how are you enjoying MCM London?
Gosh, it's amazing. First of all, I love London. I want to move here. It's amazing. And everyone, yeah, it's just lovely. Everyone's incredibly polite and friendly, and it's, I really like meeting the fans. It's a really nice opportunity to say hi to everybody, because I have my shows that I'm crazy about, where I would be totally excited if I met the actors. So it's nice to be reminded that I'm part of different shows that people are really stoked on too. It's really nice, yeah.
And how have you been received by the fans?
They have thrown all kinds of vegetables at my head. It's been really
I tried to block a
horrible.
couple of the tomatoes. Yeah.
No, everyone's been incredibly welcoming. Everyone always says, welcome to London, thank you for coming, you know that. So, yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, everybody's been great.
So lovely.
Yeah.
Except for the man that told you he tolerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
You have to tell
one
that
and wanted to let me know that in very strong terms.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going to tolerate that you have superpowers.
Yeah, his exact word was tolerate.
Tolerate.
I'm tolerating your powers.
But he came to get your autograph.
He did, which I was
so
like,
he loves you. He loves you. Ultimately, he loves you.
Yeah, I sort of felt like you came out, you spent the time and waited and got up here, and I kind of have to respect that.
Yeah,
That's
it's just a
what
backwards.
you wanna share
It's just
with
a
me.
backwards compliment. It's him being like, "Look how much cool information I know about this," you know, and let me give you some constructive criticism, like as if you're the one making the decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's all. It was.
I also think he didn't like my outfit.
He did yesterday. Didn't like your outfit.
Yeah, I
was
don't
not
think I
into
did
it.
not- I was not into it.
That's so weird.
Everyone else, however, has been incredibly nice, and this is my first time doing a con, so I was really nervous. I didn't know if everyone was going to be like that one guy, and it's such a joy when you work on a set. You live in like this kind of emotional bubble, and you're just around the people that you work with, and so nobody really. I don't know. I always say that being on a TV show is like having a secret that when it airs, everybody else is somehow let in on it. But when you're in the bubble, you don't really know how what you're doing affects others or how others really feel about the show. You just have this kind of generic rating thing that somebody talks about. So this has been really fun for me because I don't think I realized the extent to which the show touches people, especially kids. Yeah. And it's really cool. So I like this. I think maybe I'll do this more often.
Yeah.
I've thought this might be a one-off, but
No,
down with it.
Oh my god, I'm so glad you're
Yeah.
gonna do more. Good. We'll come to them together.
Yay.
Yeah. Like, are you going to this one? Are you going to that one?
I also
Are you
have to
going this
protect you from that one guy who is really in love with
one?
you.
Yeah. There's a guy who's really in love.
I
with
almost
me.
called Mike. I almost had to call my husband a little while ago to have a hey,
He could be my bodyguard.
I'm pretty sure this guy wants to marry Jessica, and that's going to be a problem for her boyfriend.
It will be, but that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Take it as a great compliment.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed now.
Moving right along.
So if you guys were the showrunner or had the power of the showrunner, where would you like your characters to go?
God, that's a good question.
Well, let's see. I won't say anything I haven't already told Todd directly. I've been angling for a cape and an outfit for like this whole last season. I don't know if he's gonna let me have it, but damn it, I just want a cape for like one episode.
That'd be so
Just
fun.
one episode.
That'd be so cool.
Full blown cape situation.
That's like a power.
Nobody on the show even
stance.
has one.
No capes.
Right?
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm really pleased with the direction the show seems to be going now. Certainly, the addition of Jessica is very, very cool.
Well, it's the best decision they've ever made.
Obviously.
You know, the show's just gonna do so much better now that I'm on it.
This is a fact.
Yes, obviously. So, because it was struggling so much before I came on it.
Better is always better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I obviously can't say anything about what we know.
I know, it's hard. I feel like such a new addition to the show that I wouldn't even feel comfortable saying like where would I want it to go, because I don't know where it's gonna go, and I'm just really, really looking forward to doing more episodes at this point. So I know that's not a very exciting answer.
I know I'd like to see my character do more. I would just like to be in court more, because that's really fun for me. And the episodes that we did where we were in court, I feel like they're really grounding for the show to kind of go back to that season 1 energy of remembering that Barry's still a human, that nobody but us knows who he is, and real things happen to all of us real people just because some of us have powers. And I felt like it had those few episodes of being back and forth and Barry being in trouble with the law and all of that, I felt like it grounded things a bit.
Cool.
I mean, do you think it's quite hard for shows like this, particularly over a long period of time, to get that balance right between human drama, which is very relatable, and then at the same time, in the same episode as someone dealing with a relationship problem or a problem at work, you're also dealing with something that could potentially cause the apocalypse? It's quite hard to kind of match those at the same time.
I know that those of us on the show, we all feel like our obligation as actors on the show is to always ground it in the humanity of who they are. And I think that's the only way it works, is if we continue to play people who just happen to have really unusual circumstances happen to them, and also that we play people that never forget that we have a responsibility that goes beyond what everyone else knows. So yeah, because I think it really is easy for a show like this to go off the rails if you don't do that.
Yeah, and you guys are all, sorry to interrupt, you guys are all really good at that. Like when I've watched it, you're all really good actors. So there's this, so there's this sense of like, there is a sense of groundedness in the television show, in the television show because of that it makes it feel relatable, even though really circumstantially the other stuff is so unrelatable. It keeps the like relationships and friendships and all of that, you connect to it.
Yeah.
So what was it like coming in as new actresses and new characters into a show that kind of already had an established family of characters and people?
I was super intimidated because the biggest thing is you never know if you're going to be welcomed, if people are going to be friendly, and there's always a fear that like, what if they've been on the show for a long time, so maybe they're like, I don't know, big-headed or something. And everyone is so chill and so cool and so friendly. I was welcomed so kindly into it. The only thing that was really intimidating is my first episode was a crossover episode. So it was like behind-the-scenes aspect of everything it's so overwhelming that I just was like, okay, know my lines, stand where I'm supposed to stand, and just say to do what I'm supposed to do, and then get in and get out.
Jessica got thrown into full-blown chaos.
It was crazy. It was totally crazy. Yeah.
Because none of us, what were we doing, Supergirl that day?
Yeah.
Like none of us even knew it was the wedding stuff, and it was every major cast member from all 4 Universe shows were all in the same scene. And then that was Jessica's first day of work. So it was,
well said. Yeah, it was nuts.
It's hard.
It was hard, but it was great.
For me, it was interesting because I popped in for a hot second at the tail end of season 1 with the intention going forward of what it's ultimately turned out to be. But, inside baseball business of it all was I had done a pilot previously, And so when season 1 of Flash wrapped, and right after they established who my character was, that pilot that I did got picked up. So I went off and did 2 seasons of that show. And then when that show ended, I was so incredibly fortunate that the producers called and said, hey, now that you're available, do you want to finish what we started? And so I kind of had a similar circumstance. So I came back, and while I was away, the show turned into some kind of giant hit, and everybody, became big stars. And then I popped back in and thought, well, I don't know if they're going to welcome me. I don't know if it's going to feel the same. And I very much was prepared for like first day of school, please let me in. And I got there, and it was like the 1.5 years that I was gone never happened. And everyone's
just
much
so
a family.
relaxed. Yeah, it's so relaxed. It's a sense of you're all taking care of each other. It's really nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, great.
Since you mentioned the crossover shows, is there any of the other shows that you would quite like your character to appear on more regularly? Or
I want to be on Black Lightning.
Quit stealing my answer.
Sorry, girl.
Let's do it together.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I want to be on Black Lightning. Also, if I was going to get real specific, I want quality scenes with Jill Scott. Just like personal obsession. It's a personal obsession, and it needs to happen in my life. I might just fly out to their set and just hang around so I can be around her.
That's so cool.
Yeah. What about you? Anyone particular that you would like to have scenes with on that show?
Well, I've worked with Nafisa before, and she's awesome and cool and ridiculously beautiful. Not that that's why I want to work with her. I mean, she's just such a sweet, amazing, lovely person, so I'd love to work with her again.
Would you like any storylines from the comics to transcend on the TV series?
I'm not. I haven't read the comics, so I'm really ignorant in that aspect of it. I just kind of. We were talking about this yesterday about kind of how not everything from the comics can be translated onto television because it just doesn't work. So I'm just kind of here for the ride.
For me, I enjoy the I have an overall familiarity, but I enjoy the not knowing, because every season there's a major element from the comics is introduced for what's going to be happening in any given storyline. So I enjoy kind of waiting for that, and then I read the comic and find out, and I get the background on every character and what they originally were. And then I get to enjoy the evolution of that into modern times that we get, and into a 23 episode season that we get from the writers, and how we get to incorporate our characters into it. So for me, that part's, it's like half of the adventure of being on a show like this.
I think one of the most interesting things about the DC multiverse is that each of the shows, like you said, they evolve over time, and some of them have gone through quite dramatic changes of tone, others have been more consistent. To the extent, I mean, obviously you can't talk about the specifics of what's coming up, but in terms of the tone of where the show's going, is it going to be more of the same, or should we prepare ourselves for another shift?
To the extent of my knowledge, I think the tone from this last season, which I don't know if you all have seen the finale yet because it airs here on Tuesday, so I won't go too far, but the tone from this last season, I think, is what the show intends to go forward with. I think all of these shows have this really amazing balance of Arrow kind of has a darkness to it. Flash has a more of a lightness. It's got bits more of a comedic element to it. There's more of like a city vibe to Black Lightning. Like every show has its own thing, and I think Flash tries really hard to sort of stay in its lane as far as in the comic and in the show. There was always a tongue-in-cheek humor to everything, and there was always a lightness that allowed intensity to like happen literally in a flash. So I think what you saw this last season is sort of where we're going to stay next year.
You're so articulate. It's nice listening to you talk.
I think we have to let you go, I'm afraid, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.